So we're going to continue things here in Visual Studio Code. So as a reminder, so far, we've created a pet planner agent using the agent builder. It's using GPT 4.1 mini as its model. We did some instruction improvement once we added in our custom MCP server. It's a local server that's a pet planner. Now, we have that local server running. That's why the debugger is running right now. So if you do not have this running, what you will need to do is go back to the debugger, select the play icon. It'll open up the agent builder, select your agent, and then you're right back where we are. So with the debugger running, we also generated the code for our agent. And so we have this pet planner agent file. And we've already set up the environment for our agent so that way we can run this locally as well. So we install the dependencies, for example. Now, what I want to do is get an idea of what's happening when the agent receives input. I want to enable tracing for this agent because right now, no tracing has been enabled. We do have output coming from the agent. If I open up the terminal here, if I expand that, I can see we even have some tool calls, so that's great. But right out the box, we don't have tracing enabled. But we can do that with GitHub Copilot. So to do that, I'm going to select this toggle chat icon to open back up GitHub Copilot and making sure I'm on my pet planner agent file so that way you can use that file as context. And I'm just going to pass in very, very simple prompt. And that prompt is going to say, enable local tracing in my pet planner agent. Make sure you are in agent mode as a heads up. And I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.5 before I send this. And then we're going to go ahead and press send. Now in doing that, what we want to see is that Copilot is invoking one of the AI Toolkit tools. And in this case, it has done it. And it's going to invoke the Git tracing code generation best practices. So this is exactly what we want. What's going to happen here is that it's going to start the trace collector, which is going to be a feature in the AI toolkit. It's going to install any required packages. And then it's also going to add tracing configuration to the agent code. So this pet planner agent that we've created. We do have a question as to whether we want Copilot to run the command open AI Toolkit Trace Viewer. Absolutely, we want to allow that because that's going to open up the Trace Viewer. This is the Trace Viewer. I'm going to just close some things so you can see what's happening here. Copilot did start this, and so it has started the collector. If this was not already started, you would have a button here that said to start it, but Copilot took that step for us. And the next thing that it needs to do is configure the Python environment. And so it's telling me what's going to be installed, and it even has indicated that it's installing it in the virtual environment that's activated. So we're going to click allow. Now, in the event that it does not choose the appropriate environment, you can follow up in a chat with GitHub Copilot to tell it to use the currently active virtual environment. But this one did a really great job at already selecting that. So now from here, it's updating my agent code to enable tracing. And all I've done at this point is just approve things that I would like for GitHub Copilot to do. And now we have a summary of what's happened. It opened up the Toolkit Trace Viewer, installed any of the necessary packages, and it added configuration for tracing. So now when we run the Pet Planner, we're going to start seeing traces display here within this tracing viewer. If I go back to my Pet Planner agent file, I can see what has been changed. And we're only adding that change at the top. I'm going to go ahead and click keep. And let's bring back my terminal. I don't know where it went. It ran away from me. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and run this. So let's do Python pet planner agent.py. Let's close up GitHub Copilot so we can have a little more space. And let's go ahead and run that. All right, so I can see from here that we did receive a trace. This is lovely. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see what's happening here. All right, awesome. So we have 3 different things that happen here. Here's the first trace that we have. We have the agent was invoked, we have the user input, and then we have the output. Simple enough. Also, welcome to the tracing viewer. So here in the tracing viewer, if I go back, by the way, let me exit this trace. What's happening in here is that all your traces are going to collect in this table that's below. And you can see when each trace occurred, durations, the tokens as well. If you select on one of the traces, it'll give you the trace details. And so the one that I have open here, we can see that the agent was invoked. And then we have the input and the output from that particular chat. We can also see the amount of tokens as well. And then in the metadata is where we can view, well, metadata for this particular thread that we started. If we select on chat, this is where we can see the conversation with the model itself. Now, the second trace is our follow-up with the agent, in which we want to say that our poodle wants to play for about 3 hours. What's the weather like in LA today? So the agent is invoking the get weather tool, and it's passing as Los Angeles as the location. And then we get the response from the tool itself. We get the temperature, the conditions, the wind, humidity, and then any pet advisory as well. And then just below that, we have the output from the assistant itself. All right. If I were to open up each of these individual sections in here, I would see what were the inputs and outputs for each of those corresponding moments and the tokens. And then for the final one, same as before, we can see how the conversation unfolded. So this is the final one now, where we want to get some fun activities based on the weather. And what we get as a response is, for our partly cloudy weather, we have the activities for my beloved Olivier, and then we get the output from the assistant as well. So what we've done here is enable tracing for our agent. We've leveraged Copilot, which invokes AI Toolkit tools. In particular, it's the tracing best practices. And I'd recommend that you also enable tracing as well as you're creating and debugging your agents, so that way you can see how the conversation is unfolding. You can see which tools are being invoked, and you can see what it is that your agent is doing to actually get to a point where it delivers the output to you as well. Again, super helpful for doing debugging. You can use the tracing viewer that's available right here in the AI Toolkit.